don't do any assembly on the Bill and Bride stuff. We have to cut the whole movie together, and then we'll do the Bill and Bride scene.
You overreacted?
So I didn't know if I had my ending truthfully, like, slam dunk in my pocket until at the end of this process I cut those scenes together.
And how did you feel when you saw it?
Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill is often praised for its action, visuals, and quest for revenge.
You'd be the deadliest woman in the world, and these people have screwed you over, and you're gonna track them all down and kill them and everything.
However, when you get to the ending, something changes.
Freeze, Mommy.
Bang, bang! Oh!
The story slows down, while the motivation from our main character goes from revenge to love. And this clever switch not only makes the story a lot deeper, but it also helps create Tarantino's most unique finale.
The writing of the movie, that journey would tell me what I needed to do when it came to writing the scene between Bill and the bride.
So what does the journey the bride has to go through actually do to lay the groundwork for those final 30 minutes? Well, for one, it showcases how hard it was. She gets to suffer a lot, buried alive and pretty much returned from the dead after having to hang out with this creepy dude.
My name is Buck, and I'm here to fuck.
But more significantly, it's about the people Beatrix Kiddo meets along the way. The 4 assassins. Everyone in the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad is connected to how that last meeting with Bill plays out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If we follow the order Tarantino chose to present these chapters, the first is Vernita Green. Vernita represents the life Beatrix could have had. A suburban home, a daughter, a normal existence. Then the attack shatters that illusion. What's established immediately is the brutal nature of assassins. There is nothing glamorous about the 2 trained killers tearing apart a living room. At the same time, there is a code. When the school bus arrives and Vernita's daughter walks in, the fight stops. They won't continue in front of a child, and that contradiction is crucial because it allows us on some level to recognize the humanity within these otherwise unhinged characters.
Now, I have to fix Nikki's cereal.
The structure of Kill Bill, which is this road to revenge, you know, with these series of victims or baddies that I have to take care of, allowed him to really play with the tableaus and the genres, and each chapter, which had always had a chapter structure, has a different influence to it.
Just as Uma Thurman explains, each chapter with the Deadly Vipers and Bill himself serves as a distinct homage to Tarantino's love for different movie genres, but it also embodies a different way of being a killer and the identity that comes with that.
Look, if I could go back in a machine, I would, but I can't. All I can tell you is that I'm a different person now.
The second confrontation is the one with O-Ren Ishii, the Yakuza boss. Unlike Vernita, O-Ren doesn't hide from what she is. She embraces it fully and builds power around it. Authority becomes her shield against guilt and consequence. But in the case of O-Ren, she probably doesn't even feel remorse for what she has done.
Is that what I think it is?
You didn't think it was going to be that easy, did you?
However, power doesn't save her. It doesn't stop her from death, and her pursuit of dominance harms countless others along the way. Rivals executed, subordinates killed, an entire city living in fear. Embracing her nature without restraint only expands the damage.
I can write for her that willowy physicality she had. As I'm writing it on, she's gonna look like the bomb in that yellow tracksuit.
Next is Bud, the washed-up bouncer and Bill's brother, who delivers my favorite line in the entire story.
That woman deserves her revenge. And we deserve to die.
He might be the closest thing to a cautionary tale within this story. Bud accepts that he is a killer. He feels guilt, but instead of transforming that guilt into something constructive, he lets it hollow him out.
I'll clean it up.
He isolates himself in the desert, takes a job where he is disrespected and underpaid, lives without connection, without purpose. He doesn't actively seek death, but he doesn't resist it either. Guilt without redemption turns into self-destruction and greed, and that's ultimately how he dies.
I'm sorry, bud. That was rude of me, wasn't it?
And then there is Elle Driver. She is remorseless and utterly devoted to Bill. Where Vernita and Bud fall apart under the weight of who they are, Elle goes the opposite direction. Like O-Ren, she doubles down. She doesn't struggle with being a killer, she refines it. She murders Bill's brother, she kills her own master. For her, loyalty, ambition and violence are all the same thing. Elle is basically the version of Beatrix who fully commits to being an assassin, what she could have become without her child. Like many of you probably have figured out by now, through these 4 encounters, the bride isn't just crossing names of a list. She's being confronted with 4 potential reflections of herself. And in facing them, Beatrix is subconsciously forced to decide what kind of life she wants to live. But through all of this quote-unquote soul-searching, if you could even call it that, one huge detail stayed hidden from her, and it would obviously change the perspective of the entire film. And I think it's this conversation that sets everything in motion.
Do you know why I help you?
No.
Because he will want me to.
Now that I don't believe.
How is he ever going to see you again?
If we break down this ending, there are 3 main scenes that capture what Tarantino wants to do. The first one is the story about the goldfish.
Want to tell Mommy about what happened to Emilio?
At first glance, this can seem like one of those conversations that doesn't really go anywhere. The calm before the storm, so to speak. But with Quentin, every bit of dialogue has a purpose.
The words you so strategically used were, I accidentally stepped on him.
What's happening here is that Bill is using the life lesson young BB is experiencing to confront his own feelings, noting that his attempt to kill Beatrix was, in his view, an accident. In other words, a mistake.
She told me later that the second she lifted up her foot and saw Emilio not flapping, she knew what she had done.
In its own twisted way, this is Bill's apology, expressed indirectly through their child.
No, I knew what would happen to Mommy if I shot her. What I didn't know was when I shot Mommy, what would happen to me. Gotcha!
The second scene is where things really start to get going, especially when Bill begins to talk about Superman.
When Superman wakes up in the morning, he's Superman. His alter ego is Clark Kent.
It's such a brilliant portrayal of the flawed mindset of this villain.
And what are the characteristics of Clark Kent? He's weak. He's unsure of himself. He's a coward. Clark Kent is Superman's critique on the whole human race.
What I find so clever about the argument is that Bill at its core doesn't get Superman's motivation, because he can't understand compassion. Yes, Superman is an all-out powerful alien, and technically Clark Kent is the disguise. But Clark is still Clark. He was raised on Earth. He's basically a normal guy with extraordinary powers. Ultimately, Superman isn't a hero because of a sense of obligation, like Spider-Man or Batman. He's a hero because he can be. He has the power to save lives, so he does. Bill connects this power of Superman to the power of the deadliest assassin in the world, namely Kiddo.
Are you calling me a superhero?
I'm calling you a killer. A natural-born killer.
And from one perspective, he is very much correct. Just look at the amount of death she left behind her. But from another point of view, just like Superman, Bill is incapable of understanding Beatrix's motivation.
Did you really think your life in El Paso was gonna work?
No. But I would have had baby.
Tarantino walks the extremely complicated line of what it means to be a woman, a mother, and a killer, all at the same time. How do you deal with that? Can you just forget the past and move on? Do you have to change who you are, and if you try, is it even possible?
Before that strip turned blue, I would have jumped a motorcycle onto a speeding train. For you.
I mean, when I first had my daughter, I used to say it was like as if I took out my liver, gave it 2 legs, and it was running around without me, or my heart, or my, some essential organ from my body now had a free will.
Yeah.
And that's how vulnerable I felt.
But once that strip turned blue, I could no longer do any of those things. Not anymore.
This is what the whole film, in subtle ways, has been leading towards. The bride coming to terms with that she can't run from her past, yet she will not give up on being a mother. For example, the coffin Bud buries Kiddo in can in one way symbolically mirror a mother's womb. Her emerging from it represents a rebirth, paralleling her quest to become that mother. That's why Tarantino adds themes like Vernita having a kid of her own, or the other female assassin letting her live.
Congratulations.
Because being a mother changes everything, something a man, and definitely someone like Bill, would never understand.
You're getting married to some fucking jerk. And you're pregnant. So you got a bun in the oven.
I'm knocked up.
I think that first scene between me and Uma, you have that sense of that there's a moment where time has stopped. Ah, music lover, eh?
He's fond of music.
Aren't we all? That's one of my favorite scenes, I think, in my entire career, is that scene at the chapel.
Do I look pretty?
Oh, yeah. I overreacted.
You overreacted? Is that your explanation?
No, I didn't say I was gonna explain myself.
Their final piece of dialogue is no longer about getting answers from one another. They know they will never see eye to eye. Rather, one last conversation between two people with a very complicated history. Beatrix breaks Bill's heart, both figuratively and literally, and there is something fascinating in his reaction. Beneath the pain, he seems almost relieved, even proud. Proud that Kiddo truly was Pai Mei's favorite student, worthy of inheriting his secrets and carrying them forward.
Pai Mei taught you the 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
Of course he did.
Finally, we realize how Bill has chosen to deal with this entire situation. I like how you could tell he didn't want to win, but still knew it was against what they were taught to go down without a fight. At their core, revenge stories are often distilled into a single moral lesson, that it's never worth it. That message can certainly be applied to Bill, as the film serves as a prolonged illustration of how his own actions gradually consume him.
And that's when I learned. Some things, once you do, they can never be undone.
Like Kiddo, Bill was forced to confront his past, but unlike her, he couldn't live with what he had become.
Can we just forget the past?
From one perspective, his final act can actually be seen as giving Beatrix her child back, while simultaneously paying the price for stealing 4 years of her life. And in a world that often craves black and white answers, Tarantino's portrayal of how love and hate can coexist for the same person feels strikingly honest.
What makes him good?
A more general or simple way to put it would be he's a completely original thinker. I mean, you know, give him a rule, he'll break it.
And circling back to the journey Tarantino mentions at the beginning, after facing each of the 4 assassins, the bride ultimately chooses a path of her own. She doesn't deny her history, she confronts it fully and deliberately, all in the service of something greater than herself. This is underscored in the final moments of the credits, when Beatrix Kiddo, aka the bride, aka Black Mamba, is finally given a new name.
What's the most important thing you've learned from Quentin?
He once said that I gave him wisdom and he gave me courage. So, yeah, I guess he gave me courage.
Here you have another video I think you'll like, so give it a watch. Thank you so much for staying until the end, and bye bye.